11th of October, Rabbi Levitt, Gemorrah.
Okay. All right, let's see where we go here today.
Phil.
Hi, how you doing?
Baruch Hashem.
Okay. Oh, okay. I was looking for where I marked off yesterday, but I don't have any marking off for yesterday. Then I realized I know why I don't have a marking for yesterday. Okay, so we'll go from where we left off on Yom Hamishi. That I have marked off. As I was saying, yeah, I remember I made a point of marking it off. Okay. Yeah, so we're up to Hamid Iktani Seifa. Moore's now going to bring up the Seifa. Moore's going to bring up the Seifa, and we're still right in the middle of this question about Boshus. About how do we evaluate the payment of Boshus? So now we're going to see from what we see in the Seifa in the Mishnah on, I guess, where is this, on top of Pei Vav Amid Beis. That's the Seifa. Mentions a few more cases about Boshus over there. Okay, so we welcome everybody back once again to Roy and Alan. And let's see, who's the lucky reader this morning to start off the reading? Alan.
Okay, sure. Where we leave off? What page?
We're on
Page one?
86A. What is it? Like page 3 in the art scroll?
Yeah.
What's the phrase?
Under the Connie Safer, 8683, right column.
The Gemara rejects this suggestion. It's the second paragraph in the right column.
Right. The Gemara rejects this suggestion. Reform the deep course 20 safer. But since the end of the Mishnah states, Hama Bayesh, Hama.
Hard to hear you, Alan.
Okay.
I'm gonna go get my speaker.
The Gemara rejects this suggestion. Bahorm Mida Kot 20 safer, but since the end of the Mishnah states, Hama Vayesh Es Shan Chayev, one who humiliates his sleeping person is liable. Shane Shaviyesh Pata, but a sleeping person who humiliated another person is not liable. Below Pokone, so more Shaviyesh Pata, and it did not state also, a blind person who humiliated another person is not liable. Miba wow the low shanor hochi the low shanor hochi. it follows by implication that there is no difference this way or that way. The blind person collects if he is humiliated, and he pays if he humiliates someone else. Hence, Mishnah cannot follow the view of Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara therefore concludes, Eila Maka Torah, Mishnah Sim Rabbi Shmuel, he rather clear understanding is that our Mishnah is following only the opinion of Rabbi Shimon.
Okay, good. Do we have any Rashi to help us out? We just have Suma Ein Loboshes. We did that yesterday. Then El Rabbi Shimon he. Okay, we just basically have El Rabbi Shimon he. Okay. So who would like to read Rashi? We'll read the Rashi and then we'll sum up what we learned over here.
I'll read it. Ela Rebbe Shimon he. Rather, it is Rebbe Shimon. De'ihu nami lav ki hadadi misuye lahu. That if he also was not Hadadi is himself
Together. He doesn't together mashve lahu.
What's mashve?
Equate.
He doesn't together equate them.
Yeah, he doesn't equate them together and put them in this with the same din.
So he's talking about a
Ashiri.
sleeping person and a blind person.
Oh, so that's yeah. Well, who is he talking about over here? That's a good question. Is he talking about a blind person or a sleeping person? Is he talking about Ashirim and Anim? Who is he talking about? Okay, so in order to understand this, we got to really get back into this Gemorrah over here and see what it was that the Gemorrah was doing over here. So if we take a look over here from the two dots in the middle of the page, we see that the Gemorrah quoted the words in the Mishnah, and those are the words in between the two dots. Boshes hakol lefi hamavayish hamisvayish. The payment of Boshes is evaluated according to the one who did the humiliation and who was the one that was humiliated. And on that, the Gemorrah asked, Mani Masnisin, who is the view that the Tana of the Mishnah, which Tana is the Mishnah going according to? And then the Gemorrah presented a brisa that had three different Tanoim. Had Reb Meir, had Reb Yehuda, and had Reb Shimon. And the Gemorrah said, oh, this Mishnah goes like Reb Shimon. Why does it go like Reb Shimon? What did we say? Anybody remember? Do I remember? I don't know, but maybe somebody else does remember what we said. What do we?
We
Yeah.
said that Rabbi Shimon does differentiate between rich and poor,
right?
And even though Rabbi Yehuda does also, we found a contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda. So we said it can't be Rabbi Yehuda, therefore it has to be Rabbi Shimon.
Okay, so we see from the Mishnah, when it said we go according to the one who humiliate the Mavayesh and the Misvayesh, that means to say that we make distinctions between different people. We don't judge everybody equally. So we look and we said, yeah, that Reb Shimon does that, and then the Gemorrah said, oh, maybe you could say even Rabbi Yehuda does that. He also makes distinctions, and on that the Gemorrah brought a kasha on that from the Sefer in regard to the matter of what it says over there by Boshes. In Afilu Tema Rabbi Yehuda, Kiyama Rabbi Yehuda, Suma Ein Lo Boshes. All right, see, because the Gemara originally said, if you want to say that the Mishnah goes like Rabbi Yehuda, we have a kasha on that from the Sefer, because it says in the Sefer Mavaishas Asuma Chayiv, and Rabbi Yehuda said Asuma does not have boshes. Right. So we said, oh, it got to be Rabbi Shimon. Then we said, oh no, 1 second, we have an answer for Rabbi Yehuda. Our answer was that when Rabbi Yehuda said Asuma doesn't have boshes, that was in regard to the Mishko Mineh, in order to the Mishko to take from the Suma a payment of boshes when he, the Suma, humiliates other people. But in regard to him giving to him, the mitzvah to give to him, we do give to him, meaning if he was humiliated, we give him a payment of boshes. We give him. So like that would accord with the Mishnah. But on that, the Gemorrah said you can't make that answer that you're making for Rabbi Yehuda. And this is what I want to point out over here. How does the Gemorrah refute the answer that it just gave for Rabbi Yehuda? Gemorrah says, oh, we learned another case in the Sefer is somebody who was not a Suma, somebody was sleeping. What does it say about somebody that was sleeping? It says two things. It says both ways about the one that was sleeping. Somebody who humiliates somebody who's sleeping, he's chayiv. But if the sleeper humiliates somebody, I don't know how he could do that exactly, but the Gemorrah, that'd be an interesting thing to know. We'll see later on in the Gemorrah. The Gemorrah asked how that works exactly. But in any case, if he does end up humiliating somebody in his sleep, he's going to be putter. Okay, so therefore what? What does the Gemorrah see from that? The Gemorrah sees, based upon that, we cannot answer the answer that we answered according for Rabbi Yehuda. Why not? Because the Gemorrah says that in regard to the Suma that we were trying to defend Rabbi Yehuda, Lokatani, Suma should be Esh Potter. We didn't say about what happens when a Suma is Mavaya somebody else, when a Suma embarrasses, humiliates somebody else, that he's exempt. We didn't say that specifically in the Mishnah. No, all we said was that somebody who's mavayesh a summa, he is going to be chayev. Someone who humiliates a summa, he will be liable. But the other way around, what happens to the summa does somebody something else? We didn't say that he was potter. We didn't say that. So the Gemorrah says, Machlal, the lo shna haki v'lo shna haki. That implies that since the Mishnah rather did not say that he's potter, we would assume that it doesn't make a difference whether he's the one that got humiliated or he humiliated somebody else. And the fact that it only said one side is we understand that that there'd be obligation if he was on the receiving end as well, the summa. And therefore Rabbi Yehuda, we cannot say that Rabbi Yehuda is the author of the Mishnah. Why? Because Rabbi Yehuda said summa ein lo boshes. He said by a summa ein lo boshes. So in other words, we see that when the Mishnah wanted to tell me that there's a difference in the case where the sleeping person gets humiliated or whether he does humiliate, then if there's a difference in the din, so the Mishnah spoke it out. It spoke out both sides. Oh, but in the case of the summa, it did not speak out both sides. It only spoke out one side. So if it only spoke out one side, what could we conclude from the unspoken side what the din is in that case? Says the Gemorrah. Lo shna hachi v'lo shna hachi. Doesn't make a difference. Either way, it's going to be the same din as the din that we explicitly stated in the Mishnah in regard to a summa. And therefore, we cannot say that Rabbi Yehuda is the author of the Mishnah, because Rabbi Yehuda said, summa ein lo boshes. So that's what we did over here. And we conclusively excluded the possibility of answering for Rabbi Yehuda that the Mishnah goes like Rabbi Yehuda. And now we go back to saying that the Mishnah goes like Reb Shimon. Okay. Good. Got that? Okay. I assume that silence means agreement.
Silence is golden.
All right. Okay, so that concludes our discussion about, but that's a very important thing to notice about the Gemorrah over here. How the Gemorrah figured out from this Mishnah what the din by Boshes is, even though it didn't say so explicitly. Okay.
Well, I don't follow that last statement. All it did was it told us who was the author. That didn't tell us what the din is.
What's the Gemorrah saying that the din is in the case of when the summa is mavayesh? What does the Gemorrah understand that the din would be, even though the Mishnah did not say so explicitly?
Well, it depends on whether you're going by Rabbi Yehuda or Rabbi Shimon.
Right. But the Gemorrah has concluded that it's undeniable that the Mishnah holds that a summa who's mavayesh is chayev or potter.
Chayev.
Got it? Chayev. Absolutely, without a doubt. The Gemorrah has no doubt about it. Now, how did the Gemorrah know that? The Mishnah didn't say that din explicitly. So how did the Gemorrah know this?
It knows it because it analyzed the Mishnah.
Right, because we saw that in the case of the sleeper, in the case of the Yashen, the Mishnah said, this is talking about the Seifa on the top of 86b. You got a Mishnah over there, and it says over there, Hamavayesh esayoshin chayev. Somebody who embarrasses somebody that's sleeping, he's liable. But the Mishnah says explicitly that, oh, don't think that it's the same din the other way around, though. No, don't think that. Because we're going to tell you explicitly in the Mishnah that if this sleeper somehow, some way, embarrasses another person, what's his din? He is
Potter.
Potter. He's Potter. So the Gemorrah says, aha, now everything is clear. It's clear, says the Gemorrah, what the din is in the case if the summa embarrasses somebody. It's clear, says the Gemorrah, that from the fact that the Mishnah rather did not mention that din, it's clear that the Mishnah means to imply that in that case the summa would be chayev. Why? How did Gemorrah know that? Didn't say so. Gemorrah says, yeah, it didn't say so because it didn't need to say so. When it needed to say, it said. And when it doesn't need to say, it doesn't say. Where did it need to say? By the sleeper. It says by the sleeper, oh, his din when he humiliates is not the same as when somebody who humiliates him. He who got humiliated when he was sleeping, you're going to be high. The guy's going to be chayav. But when the sleeper humiliates the guy, he's going to be potter. That's what it says, black and white in the Mishnah. On that, the Gemorrah says, oh, now we figured out something. It must be in the case of the blind person, the summa, that the din lo shna hachi. It doesn't make a difference whether he's on the receiving end or on the giving end of the boshes. Why? How did the Gemorrah know that? Because the Gemorrah didn't write the second side. From that, the Gemorrah wants us, the Mishnah wants us to understand that there's no difference. We don't need to write the second side because there's no difference. When we need to write a second side to tell you it's not the same way when he's on the receiving end, we write it. That's what we did in the case of the sleeper. Or actually on the giving side. It's not the same din. The din when he's the giver of the boshes, he's potter, the sleeper. Oh, so that's a different din. Wakes up the Gemorrah. Oh, yes. So therefore, we can conclude that in the case of the summa, it only told us one side, where somebody is mavayish a summa, he's going to be chayev, and on that it didn't write the second side. What happens if the summa is mavayish someone else? What's the din? On that we can conclude, says the Gemorrah, it must be that it's the same din as when the summa himself gets booshed out, humiliated and embarrassed. It's the same din. Therefore, we didn't need to write the what happens when the same thing happens to him, because that's really That's really the most logical thing to say. That's what we would think. What's the difference? Whether he does it or he gets it, there's liability either way. Oh, but when it's telling me a case where I wouldn't have thought that that's the din, so then we got to say so. And that's what the Mishnah does. It tells me that when the sleeper is giving the boshes, so he has no liability. He's got no liability. So the two dinim are different from one another. They're not equal. When he's on the receiving end, there's liability. When he's on the giving end, the sleeper is not liable. Oh, I wouldn't have thought like that. Then the Mishnah says, right, that's why we told you that that's the din, because you wouldn't have thought like that. So we had to speak it out. But in the case of the Summa, we only spoke out one side. And so therefore the Gemorrah says, oh, it must be that the second side, when he's on the giving end, is also going to be the same thing. There's also going to be liability over there too. He's going to be liable too. Just like when he got embarrassed, he's going to be liable when he embarrasses. That's going to be the din of the Summa. And like that, we know for sure that the Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yehuda. Therefore, we have to include it's like Rabbi Shimon. Okay.
So
You can tell.
we've proven, or we've determined what the halacha is for a blind person in both cases. That's good. That's important information. Why do I care that it's Rabbi Shimon that stated this? What difference does it make? It doesn't change the halacha.
Okay, so this is really a general question. Why does the Gemorrah ever want to know who's the Tana of a Mishnah? Why do we want to know? So, like over here, you know why we want to know is because one way of we want to trace the source of this din. We want to make sure we got it right. We want to make sure we have the din correct. We want to make sure we got the reasoning behind the din correct. And so therefore, if we can identify who's the author of the Mishnah, we're going a long way to be able to understand the source of the din, who's the one who says it. And the more we know about that, we can now understand better why he says what he says. There's also another reason why. Another reason why is because sometimes we say, 1 second, no, that can't be so, because we know that Rabbi Shimon said blah 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 in another Gemorrah somewhere else. Oh, so now we have a contradiction. So how we resolve this contradiction? So then we have to make further explanation, and now with that further explanation, we now better understand Rabbi Shimon, why it is that he said over here this, and why he said over there that. So just to answer the question in one words, the reason that we want to know is got a lot of ramifications for better understanding of the din. Yeah, okay. All right, so we continue. Mantana laha the tanu rabbanan. Now the Gemorrah wants to know who's the Tana of the Brisa. So Roy, would you like to read for us?
Gemorrah now inquires about the authorship of a related bracer. There you are, Lou. Ma'an Tana Laha, the Tana, the Rabbanan, who stated these rulings that the rabbis taught the following bracer.
We haven't seen this price yet.
Mhm.
Okay.
Who stated these rulings that the rabbis taught in the following bracer? Niskavon, Levayesh es Hakatan. If one intended to humiliate a, quote, small person, Uviyesh es Hagadol, and he humiliated a, quote, big person instead. Nosen le Gadol de me Bashato shel Katan. He gives the big person the value of the humiliation of a small person. The Levish is Habad.
Evid. An Evid, servant.
Oh, Ha'evid. Yes, sorry. Ha'evid. Where's my? Oh, here it is. Ha'evid. Right. The base is Ha'evid. If he intended to humiliate a Canaanite slave, Uviyesh is ben Harin, and he humiliated a Jewish freeman instead. Nosein lebein Harin demei Bashto shel Eved. He gives the freeman the value of the humiliation of the slave. Mani. Now, who is it that authored this bracer? Lo Rabbi Meir, ostensibly not Rabbi Meir, below Rabbi Yehuda, and not Rabbi Yehuda, below Rabbi Shimon, and not Rabbi Shimon.
Okay, what's the din over here? Let's just review what we said over here. The Gemorrah wants to identify of our three Tanoim that we know that spoke about the matter of Busha, Reb Meir, Reb Yehuda, and Reb Shimon. We're bringing this brisa, and we want to know who's the author of this brisa. So what are the two cases over here? This is what you call a case of transferred intent, so to speak. I guess it's not really, whatever you want to call it. And that's actually not really whatever. So what happened? He had intention to be mavayesh a katan. Now it doesn't mean over here somebody less than bar mitzvah, I don't think. It just mentioned, it just probably talking about somebody who was, he's not a very highly regarded individual, let's say. And they ended up, however, b'yeshes hagodo. Somehow the facts worked out that he ended up embarrassing someone who was a very important quote unquote person. All people are important, but whatever. So what? How do we? Now we know. So we say, oh, he gives the nosein legodol demei boshaso shel katan. He only is going to have to pay he's going to only pay the one that he actually embarrassed, which was the gadol, but he won't have to pay him for the embarrassment of a gadol, even though presumably the embarrassment that the gadol suffered was what's the difference whether the person intended to do it to him or not? He did it to him, and he suffered the embarrassment that he suffered, but he's not going to be compensated as a gadol. He's only going to be compensated as though he were a katan, because he only has to give the value of the embarrassment of a katan. And similarly, in the next case, the same type of thing. He had intention to embarrass an Evid, so that's a lesser payment, and he ended up embarrassing a Ben Chorin, someone who is going to get a higher payment for his boshes. So the same thing. He's only going to get paid to the person that he actually embarrassed, the Ben Chorin, but only as an Evid. So the Gemorrah says this doesn't seem to be like any of our Tanoim. Okay.
How do we know this? What do we?
Oh, how do we? Where did the Gemorrah know to say this from? What's the Gemorrah going on in order to say this? The Gemorrah is going on something. So I'm going to give you some time to answer that question. In the meantime, we're going to read the Rashi over here. There is a Rashi over here.
No Rashi yet.
No Rashi yet?
I don't think so. Not until we get to more of an explanation.
Oh, I see. The exact lashon of Rashi is then later on in the Gemara. Okay. So let's see. First of all, we see from this brisa that the brisa makes distinctions between people. There's a different payment for whether the guy is a gadol or he's a katan. So, but why it would be that he's got to pay for what his intentions were, as opposed to what he actually caused, it's not clear to me why the Gemorrah thought that it cannot be like any one of the Tanoim. And it doesn't seem to me that any of the Tanoim spoke about such a case, at least that the Gemorrah told us so far. So why did the Gemorrah jump to the conclusion of saying, oh, it's not like any one of our Tanoim? No, we didn't have this case yet. What's the case if he intends to do a certain type of embarrassment, but he ends up doing a different type of embarrassment? How much does he have to pay for that embarrassment? You have to pay according to what he caused or according to only what he intended? We don't have a case that we see anything about that from Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon. But okay.
Going back, sorry, but going back to what we did just before, we said that a sleeping person, if he humiliates somebody, is not liable, and a blind person who humiliates somebody is not liable. Is that right?
No, we said that he's chayiv, according to the Mishnah.
Oh.
According to the Mishnah, he's chayiv, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, he would be patur.
One who
Mishnah
the Baraisa says a sleeping person humiliated another person is not liable, says the Baraisa.
Right, but a summa who embarrasses somebody,
All right.
didn't say anything about that. The Gemorrah concluded that the Mishnah holds that must be that there's no difference whether somebody embarrassed him or he embarrassed somebody else. In both cases, there's going to be liability.
So if somebody accidentally embarrasses, what's the situation?
So we don't have any. We don't have any. We don't have any reason to assume that there's a difference between whether he did it on purpose or whether he did it unintentionally. So far, the only thing that that all of our cases have said was that he did cause embarrassment to Plony.
And so
We didn't care whether he intended to do it or he didn't intend to do it.
Right. All right, I can understand.
Okay, so let's see what the let's see further into Gemorrah a little bit. We have any time? How much
29.
time? 29. Okay, so we got 1 minute. Kosok Adaita. Who wants to read Kosok Adaita in 1 minute? I'll just read. The Gemara says Kosok Adaita. When we thought that when this Brisa says cotton, it's talking about somebody who's cotton b'nechasim. He's small in terms of his property holdings. The gadol b'nechasim. When we say he's a gadol, he's a big boy. He's a big boy in terms of his property holdings, meaning he's a rich guy. Oh, so now the Gemara is answering to explain how it is that we knew that it couldn't be like Rebbe Meir. Gemara says, Rebbe Meir, if it would be like Rebbe Meir, Amar Kulu v'hadi adadi ninu. Rebbe Meir is the egalitarian over here. He says everybody, they are judged equally. We don't make a difference in how much you pay to a rich guy as opposed to how much you pay to a poor guy, right? They're all Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, according to Rebbe Meir. So therefore, it's clear from the Brisa that the Brisa makes distinctions between a katan and a gadol. Well, that's not like Rebbe Meir. Good. Got it? Okay. So now we'd like to say goodbye to everybody.
Okay.
For now.
Can I just say that with
Yes, you may.
my questions, thank you. My questions before was because I was thinking that maybe the Brisa is saying these are compensations, compensatory payments rather than actual payments for the whole lot.
Oh, okay.
So I was wondering under what situations could that be so? So that's why I was thinking there must be some way where they wouldn't be paid.
Where it
Anyway,
won't be paid? Okay.
and
Very
therefore
good.
they get compensation.
No, this is different because it's Boshas, so it's not quite the same thing.
All right. Well,
So whether
that's what I
humiliating or
was
not.
thinking anyway.
Okay.
All right.
Take care. Be well.
Okay.
All the
Great
best.
day.
Everybody have a great day.
All right then. Thank you.